It's now time for our featured speaker, and to introduce him is past club president and 10-year member of the Eastern Washington University Board of Trustees, Neil McReynolds. Neil?
It gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce the president of Eastern Washington University, Dr. Rodolfo Arevalo.
Good afternoon. As you can see, we allow all kinds of individuals to help Eastern Washington University, even those Huskies. I want to thank all of you for allowing me to be here with you today. I would indicate that I have been a Rotarian since 1993 and happen to be a member of Club 21 in Spokane. So I think I'm going to be able to use this today as a makeup, so that's primarily the reason I'm here. Not really. I'm here today mainly because I was presented with the opportunity to congratulate all the students honored as winners for life today. Your stories are truly inspiring. I had an opportunity to meet and talk with some of you today, and they are a lot, quite frankly, like mine. You are here because of your hard work in pursuit of an education, and I am here to tell you that if you stay focused, there is no limit to what you can achieve. In many ways, I can relate to overcoming obstacles, as I had to overcome language and cultural barriers on my way to becoming the first in my family to attend college. At Eastern Washington University, nearly half of our students are also considered first-generation college-going students. And that's a monocle, I think, that Eastern is very proud to have, because it's the institution that has the greatest number of students that come from first-generation college goers. I am deeply committed to these students, and I am also committed to improving the things that others might sometimes take for granted. And that, quite frankly, is creating a quality education. I am truly honored to be here today so I can share with you the story of Eastern Washington University and its rich history and tradition, and to join you, quite frankly, in honoring the students that you recognize today. I know many of you are used to hearing, as I indicated earlier, from the Huskies and the Cougars in the area. But for the next few minutes, I hope you will indulge me and think about the Eastern Eagles. After all, we have more than 18,000 alumni living and working along the I-5 corridor between Seattle-Tacoma metro area. Up until now, some of you may have only known the EWU for the fact that the Seattle Seahawks used to hold its training camp on our campus. Or maybe most recently you have heard that we are the school that is considering installing artificial red turf on our football field. And yes, that is true, but there is more to us than just that red turf story. Eastern's history goes back to its founding in 1882, almost 128 years ago, when it first opened as a normal school or as a teaching preparation institution. We're still tied to those roots, and as many of our alums teach in your schools and oversee school districts, we are still continuing to provide that level of professional for the state of Washington. But the EWU I speak of today has innovative academic programs and a diverse student body that is at an all-time high of over 10,500 students. The diversity of that campus continues to grow as much of the state of Washington continues to change. In addition to the Cheney location, we have a campus in downtown Spokane that houses our College of Business and Public Administration and all of our health science programs that work closely with the Spokane medical community. In fact, our doctoral program in physical therapy is considered one of the best in the country. This year, over 800 students applied for admission to fill just 40 slots that we have in that program. We are the home of the 10th largest School of Social Work, not in the state of Washington, not in the Northwest, but in the nation. And that means that we educate students in the fields of social work in the state of Washington, Eastern Oregon, Idaho, and Montana. In fact, I often tell our Board of Trustees that that particular school gets almost as much funding for social work training from the state of Iowa as we get from, or the state of Idaho, than we do from the state of Washington. And we do that because we train most of the social workers in Idaho, quite frankly. We have a unique program in forensic science, and the uniqueness of that program is that on our campus, we also happen to have the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab, and our students actually do part of their training at the Crime Lab, which is very unique for an institution to be able to have that stronger connection with a other state facility. We are the only regional university to offer an electrical engineering degree, and that program is now expanding because of its success and is being offered at North Seattle Community College. In addition, we will be initiating a degree program in mechanical engineering in the coming year, and further down the road would be a civil engineering program. We offer the only bachelor's and master's degree in the state of Washington in dental hygiene. So if any of you students are interested in getting into the field of dental hygiene, you probably will have to come to Eastern Washington University. We offer this is very important to us because we see the rural needs of dentistry in the eastern part of the state, and we're committed to provide a service in terms of developing and providing those services. Because we believe students who excel in math, science, health, and engineering, we have attempted to pave the way for the state to develop its economic ability by training professionals in that area. As a result, Eastern is very focused on expanding and initiating new degree programs in health, science, math, and engineering. In addition to the Cheney and Spokane campuses, Eastern has 6 centers at various community colleges around the state of Washington, including those in Bellevue, Everett, Kent, Vancouver, Yakima, and again here in Seattle. Over the past year, like all the other state institutions, we have had to manage and respond to the severe budget crisis that Neil mentioned. But I'm not here, quite frankly, to provide you with a sad story of our particular campus. I know that everyone in this room values higher education probably just as much as I do, and understand the devastation that has occurred because of the economic downturn that has plagued the state of Washington. However, since student success is my top priority and the reason I was brought to Eastern Washington University, I do want to share a couple of proactive measures we have taken to ensure our students receive a quality education despite the current economy. About a year before the recession began to take hold, I implemented a hiring freeze, which helped reduce the number of layoffs we had to make when the cuts eventually came. When we did eliminate positions, we focused on eliminating administrative positions, not teaching positions, because after all, our mission is to teach and help students be successful through getting through their academic programs. In just over a month, within a month rather, we will be finalizing a consolidation move that will reduce the number of colleges at our institution from 6 to 4. This will result in additional savings to the institution because of the administrative cost involved in running so many colleges. And this again will be used to buttress the ability to fund teaching faculty at the institution. The university currently funds or supports, if you will, about 900 more students than we get state funding for. My estimate is that next year we'll have about 1,500 students that won't get funded by the state, but we still have to provide the service. So it's important that we downsize our operation in order to make sure that we're able to serve those students. These are challenging times for all of us, and more will lie ahead. My job, which I take very seriously, is to ensure students like the ones here today have an opportunity to continue their education once they graduate from high school. Once I was asked what I do as a president, and consistently I try to respond that what I provide is opportunities for young people. Opportunities to achieve their dreams, opportunities to become civically engaged, opportunities to create choices for themselves and their families. And yes, opportunities to add to the economic development of their communities, and finally, opportunities to create what we have not dreamed of today. As I mentioned earlier, many Eastern students are the first in their families to attend college. One of these students is Alejandra Chavez, a 19-year-old freshman. She has a clear vision of what her life would have been like had she not chosen to come and take advantage of the Eastern Advantage scholarship we offered her. I would be working at the local movie theater, she says, without the chance of accomplishing my dream of teaching children. Alejandra is a Yakima native, one of 250 applicants selected to receive an Eastern Advantage scholarship. She currently holds a 3.9 GPA. She says instead of playing sports in school, she went to the library every day. Alejandra is motivated to have a better life than her parents, as her mother only had a 7th grade education. She credits the Eastern Advantage program for enabling her to achieve the dream of going to college and to one day have a great job, own a home, and hopefully raise a family in Washington. The story is somewhat familiar. My story is quite familiar to Alejandra's. I'm the proud son, as Neil mentioned, of migrant farm workers who came to the fields in Walla Walla in the Yakima Valley in the late 40s and early 50s. There is nothing wrong with, quite frankly, working in the fields or working in a store or movie theater. What's important is that you are able to choose what it is that you want to do, and that you take pride in it, and that you do it well. You should have a dream of what you want to do or be, much like Alejandra did. My father wanted us to have the choices and opportunities that were never available to him. So while we moved quite frequently across different states, my parents always made sure that we were enrolled in school and attended to our studies. Their dream was to see their children have a better life than they had. They sacrificed for us. They did what they could to make us have different opportunities to receive an education. They sacrificed for us, and they did what they could do to make ends meet. But they knew that above all, it would be education that would change our lives. In our home, education was not an option. My mother was dogged in terms of her emphasis on getting our homework done and attending to school activities. My father, even though he did not have a formal education, taught me many leadership traits and skills that I even use today and think about today. First and foremost, he taught me about ethics. He taught us about integrity, about keeping our word, about doing what we say we were going to do, and in fact followed up on it. He taught me about trust. Trust is the cornerstone of any genuine relationship, he would say. Trust can only be gained by constant behavior over time. If people don't trust you, you will not go anywhere. He taught me about pride. He taught me to be proud of who I am and where I've come from. He taught me about taking pride in the things I do and how I treat other people. He taught me about honest hard work and taking joy in what you do. Work is a privilege, he would say. Unemployment rates are high in this country today, and jobs are very hard to come by. So you need to take pride in what you are able to achieve. Education provides us autonomy and choice, from my perspective. It's a tremendous privilege to choose a career. Once we have chosen that great job, we should be diligent about working hard to keep it. Because before I came to Eastern, I remember one occasion where and I was working at the University of Texas, that on Boss's Day, my staff gave me a wooden-handled hammer. And they each signed it and made little notes on it. It was a special gift for me because I viewed it as an acknowledgement of my work ethic. They saw me as consistently driving myself forward to achieve dreams and goals, not just for myself, but for the institution I worked for. When I began my formal education, I was an immediate failure, I often tell students, because of my limited English speaking ability. I flunked the first grade, and I had to repeat that work all over again. Of course, by the time I got to fourth grade, I had made up the work, and I had begun to take advanced courses in the studies that I have. As I grew older, there were more moments of doubt for me, as may have been for some of the students that are here today. I had a counselor that told me that she did not think that I was college material. And unfortunately, I didn't take that to heart. And I would say to you that don't ever let someone tell you or dictate to you the direction that you should be going, or that sidelines you from the dream that you have. As educators, we need to infuse our students with confidence and hope. We need to be their cheerleaders, telling them they can do it. I try to encourage teachers and parents to discover the skill or strength that each student has and use it to build on other subjects or skills that a student needs to enhance. I think that is what I try to do, and that is what I tried to get across to people that I met. Maybe I was a bit stubborn also, my mother would have said, and maybe the pessimism of this counselor had made me rise up and think of what I could do to move forward. But on my own, I obviously decided I would go to the local university, contact the counselors there, and even ended up obtaining a scholarship. Not only was I college material, but I completed my bachelor's degree in 3 years, and in addition to that, managed to work at least 30 hours a week at a local lawyer's office. As if that wasn't enough, I also encouraged myself so much that I managed to finish my master's and PhD in 3 years also. So, the interesting thing, though, about that story, because I happened to graduate from the University of Michigan with my doctorate and flew my parents from Texas to Michigan. And the only question my mother had was, didn't I learn the subject matter correctly the first time I got my undergraduate degree, that I had to go get another degree? I tried to explain to her the sequence, but it was a little difficult. I'm a living, breathing, flesh and blood example of the power of education and how it can transform one's life. No one will ever be able to convince me that college education is not the single most important factor that one utilizes to alter the course of his or her life. I'm doing what I love because of my education. I am able to help others because of the position as president of Eastern Washington University, a position I hold because of my education and my experience. And because of my education, I will make certain that my children and grandchildren will have the opportunity to attend college. I am committed to making sure that all students have the opportunity to obtain a college degree and to teach and reach their total potential. Unfortunately, because of the economic crisis, some feel college is a luxury for the elite and for the wealthy. I would beg to differ. There are many ways that students with a dream and a desire to learn can take advantage of a college education. This year, as an example, Eastern Washington University will provide over $100 million of student financial aid to students who attend the university. More than ever, higher education institutions should be viewed as a critical asset that can help position our communities for economic growth through workforce training and innovation. Education is an investment that will not and cannot afford to be ignored. It provides jobs for today, and it provides jobs for tomorrow. Education is about the smartest thing we can do for our children and for the communities that they come from. College graduates go on to be productive, active citizens. They are your teachers, your dentists, your social workers, your accountants, your firefighters, and your lawyers. I know that the award winners we have here today with us have parents that have encouraged them along the way. Thank you, moms and dads. Thank you all of the teachers and counselors and principals that have taken a chance and believed in these young people. All of you have been critical players in their students' success. But credit must be given where credit is due. And it was you, the students, quite frankly, who did the work assignments, who did the special things to get you past certain courses. It was you that passed the opportunity to go to the movies, perhaps with friends, in order to reach that level that you have achieved today. Your recognition today is a direct impact of consistent, responsible behavior, sacrifice, and lots of hard work. And once again, congratulations. I would like to offer 3 pieces of advice that I would like you to remember as we leave this event. Of course, please be aware that the advice I'm providing you is free, and you can accept it in the form that it's provided. Do whatever it is to stay in school and earn your high school diploma and seriously pursue a college degree. Always do what's right and give back to your community. And foremost and most important, enroll at Eastern Washington University. Thank you. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
We have time for a few questions if you have any to ask, Doctor.
Sir, as you stated earlier, government financing and funding is limited and currently waning. The private sector is restricted. And yet, an educated workforce has never been more important than it is today. What alternative means for education, such as online learning, is your university utilizing to bring down the cost of education?
Well, we are, in fact, in the process of trying to increase the number of online courses that we offer. I happen to be a profound believer in that. In fact, when I was in the state of Kansas, I started the first virtual college in the state of Kansas, and we're going to be looking at how we continue to develop online learning for Eastern Washington University, and you'll probably be seeing more of those degrees. In fact, the degree that I mentioned, our master's degree in dental hygiene, is solely offered online. It is not offered as a face-to-face degree.
Carl Robinson has a question.
I'm over here. Hi. I have a junior in high school, and so when I saw you were going to speak, I went on to the Eastern Washington website to look at it a little bit. And I'm trying to understand. I mean, you have an extremely high rating compared to other colleges. You also have a student-teacher ratio of 21 to 1. Mm-hmm. How are you able to do that? I mean, University of Washington's 40 the minimum and maybe 400 to 1? I'm curious.
Well, one of the things that we've done, quite frankly, because of the type of student body that we get to Eastern, is really that we utilize our dollars differently. We try to maintain our student-faculty ratio as low as we can. We put more dollars into student support kinds of programs than most institutions would. And we address the organization, but trying to flatten the organization rather than trying to create pyramid in terms of managing the institution. And that's the way we redirect our dollars. I'm quite frankly a profound believer, and I wish there were legislators in the audience, but one of the things that I try to do is really take a look at our budget, redirect it in different ways, because we have a very different student population than perhaps UW, WSU, and maybe some other institutions.
Okay, so my name is Christina, and you said you had to go through obstacles. So I was wondering what kind of obstacles you had to face when getting into college.
Oh, getting to college? Well, I was fairly driven in terms of getting into college. I think the biggest obstacles I had to do with the fact that I started, as I mentioned, as a monolingual Spanish speaker, not an English speaker. So I had to learn the language when I first came to the public schools. I started later because my date of birth was beyond the date that you could go, back in those days, start school. And we didn't have kindergartens back when I started. And so I actually was a year behind and then got 2 years behind because I didn't pass the first grade. So I worked real hard to move forward because of that. There's been a number of other cases like that. I mean, I mentioned the counselor that wasn't very supportive in terms of me going to college. There's been instances where, for example, one of my first positions that I was at a university where my boss came out and told me that even though there was an opening that I was very qualified for, that particular institution wasn't ready to have a Hispanic to be a senior administrator, and so therefore I wasn't going to be considered for the position. And so there's little things like that are bumps in the road, but you look beyond those bumps in the road and you look at your skills and your capabilities and you move forward.
Thanks for being here today. A little comic relief opportunity. It's probably the school colors, but do you really want to do red AstroTurf for your field?
I think so.
Jerry Maurer has a question.
It's something about red that I like. Yeah.
One more. Jerry Maurer has a question.
Doctor, since you suffered the reversal of flunking first grade, and they didn't socially promote at that time, would you care to comment on social promotion? And the second part of that is, how do we get some kind of standardized measure to show that our students are in fact progressing in the pre-college education?
I'm not a believer in social promotion. I think people should, or students should be expected to learn a certain level of proficiency. One of the things that I would love to see is really a standard for the state of Washington that requires certain requirements to be able to get into, graduate and get into college, and that be an expectation, and if a family or an individual wants to opt out of it, they should opt out of the curriculum rather than opt into a curriculum, which some school districts do. And I think that would give us a higher level of quality of student graduate than we necessarily have now.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Dr. Arevalo, we thank you so much for joining us today as we celebrate our Winners for Life recipients. We're grateful for your stewardship of one of our state's fine universities. Thanks again to all of today's program participants, and special thanks again to the Winners for Life students. Could we all rise and applaud them for their achievements? Thank you. Next week, May 19th, we'll trek back to the Westin Hotel, where I'll be doing a calendar demonstration showing Sten that there are just 6 Wednesdays left before I take the A train out of here. Our main program is still above top secret at this point, and I can't talk about it just yet. But Roy Mann says it will be one not to be missed, so don't do that. As our members know, most weeks I end each meeting by telling some silly joke. But after having the privilege of reading a little bit about each Winner for Life recipient, I thought I'd share with you some of the words used by their nominators to describe them. Now, this is a long list. I was tempted to shorten it, but since a different word was used to describe each winner for life, I want to read them all to you, so hang with me here for a minute. Advocate, caring, committed, compassionate, courage, curious, determined, driven, generous, hardworking, honest, inspiring, intellect, involved, kind, mature, moral, motivated, open-minded, optimistic, perseveres, positive, resilient, responsible, smiles, strong, tenacious, volunteers, wise. These attributes describe people of immense character, and this year's recipients represent the best of the next generation of leaders. And when they take the reins, we'll be in mighty good hands. Congratulations, winners. We are adjourned.
Seattle Rotary Online is made possible in part by a grant from First Choice Health, working with the Washington Health Information Collaborative to use technology to bring better health care to patients throughout the Pacific Northwest. First Choice Health,